Today I'm going to talk about harmonies, and I'm going to talk a little bit about major and minor, the terms and the uses and the sounds of a major chord relative to a minor chord. I'll start out and hit you with that major and minor deal. A major chord sounds happy, it sounds complete, it sounds satisfied. A minor chord sounds a little eerie, a little sad, where a major chord sounds satisfied. Major chords are made of a first, a third, and a fifth, no matter where you start. There's an A major chord, there's an F major chord, here's a G major chord, here's a C major chord. I'm playing in C, I'm playing on all the white notes with a few exceptions like A major chords, which are use a black note, and we'll come back to that. Why? Okay, when you reduce or lower a note by a half a step, you call that action flatting a note. There's a note, there's that same note flatted. You don't flatten a note, you flatten a cockroach. You flat a note. Same thing if you go up a half step. Say there's my note, there I raised it a half step, I sharped that note, and once again you don't sharpen it, you sharpen your knife. You sharp a note. So we're going to either flat notes or we're going to sharp them some to go from major to minor. A major chord is 1, 3, 5 in terms of scale degree. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth. 1, 3, 5. Major chord. The third, the note which is your third, no matter what chord you're playing, there's an F chord. That's my third because F is 1 in an F chord. G is 2 in an F chord. A is 3 in an F chord. B is 4, actually B flat would be 4 in an F chord. And C is 5, so an F chord is 1, 3, 5. Any chord you play, you name the scale it's in after the name of the chord. C chord's in the C scale. F chord's in the F scale, even though it's part of your C progression. G chord is in the G scale, even though it's part of your G progression, or your C progression. So that's 1, not 2, 3, not 4, 5 on a G note. So there's my 1 chord, which is 1, 3, 5 of the C scale. There's my 4 chord because 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, F is my 4 note. That's my 4 chord, but it's 1, 3, 5 of my 4 note major scale. Ha, it's a magic trick. Now it just so happens that when I'm playing in C, that although not all the notes in the key of F can be played on white keys, the 1, the 3, and the 5 in the key of F can be played on white keys. So I get an F chord, but I'm still using also only notes that are in the C scale. When I play a G chord, what presto changeo, I'm playing in my G scale. 2, 3, 4, whoops, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 notes of the G scale, but these three, the first, the third, and the fifth, happen to be white keys. So I can play a C chord all on white keys, but I'm playing a chord that's in the C scale. I can play an F chord all on white keys, and it's in the C progression, but it's made out of the F scale. And I can play a G chord all on white keys, but it's made in the G progression, but all on the C scale notes. What if I want to play an A chord? Let's go there. Now that chord's got a kind of a eerie, mystical sound to it. I'm playing it all on white keys, just like I would my C chord, or my F chord, or my G chord. And those of you who have a lot of songs you've memorized know that if it's in C, there's a good chance it has an A chord in it. But what is that A chord? It's always an A minor. That's because you can't make an A major chord out of white keys. Because the A scale, if we go note 1, whole step to note 2, whole step to note 3 gives us a black key. That's a C sharp note actually. Half step gives us D, and then whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. So to play an A scale, there's a whole slug of black keys in there. But to play a chord based on an A note, all on white keys, because we're in the C scale, gives us an A minor, and that's where things get interesting. Okay, I'm going to come right back to those minors, but first off, that's a harmony. That's a harmony. That's a harmony. That's a harmony. If you hear more than one note at the same time, that's some kind of harmony. Your ears may say, ouch. You may say that's a sour harmony, but it's still a harmony. Your typical pleasing harmonies are maybe a third, which is 1, no 2, 3. That's a harmony, that's pleasing, that's called a third. A fifth is a pleasing harmony. 1, no 2, no 3, no 4, 5. Oh, well, that's interesting. That's 2 notes of the major chord. If we throw in a third, we have another harmony, which is called a chord because it's 3 notes, and it's a pleasing harmony. A fourth is a pleasing harmony. 1, no 2, no 3, and 4. But it's not the same. And you start to get these eerier sounds as you change your harmonies from your simple major harmony to your and that's what makes music move your spirit, because as the harmonies change, something inside your body goes ooh and oh man, and all these other feelings that you get, and it's because of the harmonies. That's why your simple 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Country song can get kind of boring because you've heard it all before and there's no surprises in there. Where if you throw in a surprise, you feel it better. A typical major sound is 1, 3, and 5 of any major scale. 1, 3, and 5 of my F major scale. 1, 3, and 5 of my G major scale. A third, that note there, that's the note your ear keys on to say, ooh, that's a major chord, or ooh, man, that's an eerie chord. I like that chord. That must be a minor chord. And the difference is the third is flatted. It's made lower by half a step. Now, when you make a note lower by half a step, you flat that note. That's an E. That's an E flat. You don't flatten that note. You flat that note. You flatten a cockroach. You flat a note. Okay? If you make a note higher by half a step, you sharp that note. That's a C. That's a C sharp. Why isn't it a D flat? Well, it is, except I started on C. So I went up, I sharped it to C sharp. If I'd have started on the D note, I would have flatted it to D flat, because that note and all these black key notes have 2 names, and it depends on whether you're thinking about the white key below them, in which case they're sharp, or the white key above them, in which case they're flat. Okay, but we're playing a major chord, and we're going to flat the third. Now you hear how that sounds eerie in your ears? That's because the third is what tells you if it's a major or a minor. Now, here's an interesting thing. Think about your cigar box 3-string guitar. You've got it tuned to GDG, or maybe you've got it tuned to CGC, or maybe you've got it tuned like I do to D, A, D. That doesn't have a third in it. That is we're going to go with G, C, or GDG because that's real common. G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Whoops. That's what you get when you play your G, D, G guitar open. When you just strum the strings, you get that note. We call that thing a power chord. Technically, it's not a power chord. Technically, it's an interval, a 1, 5, 1 interval. But that's not a problem. But there's no third in it, okay? That's a third. That's a fifth. That's a 1, 5, 1 power chord in C. If there's no third, it's neither major nor minor. If you're playing your cigar box guitar and somebody says, play me a C minor chord, you just play your basic C chord. You can't go wrong. There's no major and no minor because there's no third. If he says, play me a C major chord, you play him your C chord. There's no third. It's not major and it's not minor. It's called ambiguous. It's called a power chord. It's called a 1, 5, 1 interval. But there's no third. There's no I'm a major chord note. And there's no I'm a minor chord note. Now, if you're going to play all on the white keys, and you're going to start on C, you're going to get a major chord on key on C. Major scale. That's the only major scale that you can make out of all white keys. If you start on D and you play all on white keys, you're going to get a D minor scale. And that's why your typical D chord that you might hear in the key of C would automatically be a D minor. Same thing with E. You can't make an E major. Your typical E chord that you'd hear if you were playing in C would be an E minor. Now, you can't play a whole F chord on white keys either, but your first, your third, and your fifth of your F scale are on white keys. So you can play an F major chord all on white keys. Same trick applies with G. You can't play a whole G major scale on white keys, but your first, your third, and your fifth are all white keys. So you can play a G major chord, you can play a F major chord, you can play a C major chord. Lots of C, F, and G songs have an A minor in them. The reason A minor fits so well in C is because all on white keys, if you start on A, you get a minor scale. And if you play 1, 3, and 5 of A on white keys, first, third, and fifth, you get a minor chord. As a for instance, those three chords, that's an A minor, an F major, and a G major. There must be some way out of here, said the joker to the thief. Too much confusion, I can't get no relief. Businessmen, they drink my wine, plowmen dig my earth, but none Okay, you can play a song, and that's in the key of C. There's not a C chord anywhere in it. That thing ain't in there. Okay? And A minor is A, C, E. The C note is in the middle of it. A C major is C, E, and G. The A minor has 2/3 of the C chord plus a wild card note, and that makes a minor. But it's still in the key of C. And of course, you can tell that because the other two chords in there are an F chord, which is your 4 chord in the key of C, and a G chord, which is your 5 chord in the key of C. So there's the fundamental C chord, your key of C chord. There's a fundamental key of C chord, and there's 2 notes of a fundamental key of C chord with a wild note thrown in, the A. It's all a matter of major or minor harmonies, and your body responds to those harmonies in different ways. Major harmonies tend to make you say, "Ah, I'm at rest." Minor harmonies tend to make you say, "Ooh, the bad guy's about to come around the corner." So, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B diminished. That's a totally wild card. We're not going to get very heavily into diminished for a long time. C major.